Okay, I think we are all set. Here, I'll go ahead and do the intro. Welcome to FBB Forum. I'm very pleased to welcome the stunning NPC women's physique competitor, Amanda Snooks. Amanda lives in the Tampa area and is originally from Canada. And she has competed in several top shows, including some amateur Olympia contests. Welcome, Amanda. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So I wanted to ask you a few questions about how you got started in bodybuilding. And I know that you have an equestrian background. Did you get involved in weight training from your equestrian sports?
Um, no, from a very young age, I've always had horses. Basically, I was born into it. My mom had horses before I was born, so
Cool.
grew up with horses. Started riding when I was 3. I raced them, so I've been doing that my whole life. As for the whole weightlifting and bodybuilding, that didn't come until like later years.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah.
Did do you think that the equestrian sports kind of help you get into, I mean, to get you ready for weight training, do you think? Or
Definitely shaped me to be like dedicated, consistent, and be like a more motivated and driven type of person. So I would say that it shaped me in ways to get me ready for bodybuilding. Yeah.
that's great. Are you still doing equestrian sports now?
I am, except I am in the process of kind of looking for a place to have my horses down here. My horses are still with my parents in Canada, so.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's great. Very cool. And I was wondering, how did you get started in doing bodybuilding contests, and who convinced you to do your first contest?
I've always worked out. We had some like physical like weightlifting classes and stuff in school that we had to participate in. So I fell in love with weightlifting long ago, back in school. But it wasn't until like my 20s that I really started to get into bodybuilding.
Okay.
Uh, had a friend who I worked out with, and sort of one thing led to another. He was telling me about a women's fitness camp that I could go to, and it was held by Jen Hendershot. I don't know if you know who she is.
Yeah, I
A lot
remember
of
her.
people don't remember her, but she was a big time fitness competitor in the 90s.
Uh-huh.
And she, used to do all kinds of crazy routines and stuff.
Yeah,
And she won the Olympia and Arnold many times. So I attended a camp that she held when I think I was probably 21, 22 maybe.
okay.
And I just fell in love with it, knew I wanted to do it, and sort of got my feet wet from there.
That's great. Yeah, I remember Jen Hendershot. She was beautiful, and I remember her. Yeah, she had some crazy routines too.
Very
That's
high. Yeah.
high energy. Yeah, really complicated, in terms of her moves. That's great. I was curious, when you first started competing, were you kind of nervous getting on stage? And do you get nervous these days when you go on stage?
I think my very first show, we're all nervous. Back then, you didn't really have a lot of information. There wasn't a lot of coaches or, posing help or any of that. We had to,
Yeah,
magazines and go to shows to try and experience and learn how to pose and stuff like that. So it was harder, I think, back then to know if you were doing anything correctly
yeah.
because there wasn't a lot of information. Uh,
Hmm.
so I basically learned everything just hands-on, trial and error basis. So my very first show, I was nervous.
Yeah.
Did see people backstage, and they all looked like they knew what they were doing.
Uh,
Like this one person that just I had no idea what I was getting into.
sure, I understand. Bodybuilding's such an all-encompassing kind of sport, so I bet, yeah, it'd be a little intimidating at first, I would think.
Definitely was, yeah.
How do you feel now in terms of getting on stage? Do you feel more confident now?
I definitely feel confident. Nowadays, I don't really get nervous. I'm more just anxious and
Yeah.
excited. Um, I, you know, I love performing and stuff and being on stage now. And I'm about to go into my 14th year competing. So
Wow.
it's, for me, it's a different type of animal for me. It's more of that, anxious to show off, my physique and perform on stage and stuff like that.
That's terrific. Yeah, you always do a great job on stage and great posing and everything. So yeah.
I have a good posing coach.
Oh yeah. And who? Well, we're going to talk about it later, but just who is your posing coach?
Janine Legowski. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. Wow, she's like the posing Jedi, I think she said. Yeah.
Yeah, she is the guru of posing. So
How long have you been working with her?
since I moved to Tampa, so since 2018.
Oh really? Yeah, she's terrific. Yeah, I really like her a lot. I got to
Yeah.
get her on this podcast too.
Yeah, she definitely helps me. She definitely helps me. And I feel a lot more confident on stage with her helping me. We definitely have perfected a lot of the poses over the years, and she, within like the last couple of years, was I had to learn all of the women's bodybuilding poses, so she definitely helped me feel confident with that too.
And she's in Tampa too. Did you get to work with her in person?
Yeah, thankfully I actually see her in person, so which is definitely to my benefit, because I would rather have a hands-on when it comes to posing. So
Yeah, that's terrific. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, she's definitely a great posing and posing coach in general.
mm.
Um, I was curious now, do you have a prep coach as well now or
Yeah, I started working with some new coaches this year.
okay.
And it's been within the last couple of months. So two brothers, their names are Tim and Adam. They moved from up north to Tampa, and
Mm,
I just started training with Tim, and I wanted to see if sort of we could build a rapport, and if the same, if we believed in the same things when training and dieting and prepping for shows and stuff like that. And it's been working really well. So we just started prep last week.
oh, that's terrific. I'll have to get their IG from you so we can add it to the comment section below,
Yeah,
and I'll make
yeah.
sure to include Janine's as well. That's great. Are they also from Canada?
No, I believe for like Vermont, Illinois area, somewhere around there.
Okay, that's great. Very cool.
Hmm.
Um, Now, I want to go backtrack a little bit and ask you some questions about prep. And I was curious, like, what do you think is the toughest aspect of competition prep for you?
Huh. Um, I usually prep myself, so I think probably the hardest is going into um, a prep with someone new,
Yeah.
having to give them all of my trust and give up the control, because
Hmm.
I tend to be control freaks.
Yeah,
Um,
I understand.
I think for me, that's probably one of the hardest parts, because a lot of times I know what my body does and how it reacts to things,
Yeah,
um, and to give up total control and trust and put trust in someone after doing it so long is probably thing that is detrimental to me. It's hard.
I
uh,
understand.
yeah. I don't really find anything hard with prep. I like seeing, the changes. So, and I'm more of a structured type person.
Sure.
I don't miss anything. I don't crave anything. I just love, the work.
That's terrific. Yeah, I know it can be pretty challenging though with prep. So to embrace it like that's a really good thing, I think.
It's hard for me, but yeah, it's something that I've had to learn.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I've heard that you have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think a lot of females struggle with that in the off season, especially when you get into, harder classes. You have to put on more muscle.
Yeah.
Anything, you're gonna have to eat extra calories, and you're also gonna have to like feel uncomfortable in your own skin sometimes.
Hmm.
So.
I understand. That's something I did want to ask you if next is do you kind of have a hard time dealing with that transition between off-season shape and competition shape? Because I know, some muscle ladies kind of have some body shape issues, but personally, as a fan, I like all the phases that y'all go through.
Um, I think for the first couple of weeks post show, is probably the most important, but the hardest at the same time. And sometimes it's harder than being in a prep
Yeah.
because having that like dedication and restriction to going into a reverse diet in a healthy way so that you don't really rebound bad
Mhm.
can be very challenging because you
Yeah.
just after shows you just want to eat everything.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I bet it's yeah, I would just think it would be because you're changing so much and so drastically in a sense. You almost maybe don't recognize yourself too between off season and competition shape.
Yeah, sometimes it can be hard. I mean, I think I've learned how to adjust to it and how to just love my body in all shapes and sizes that it comes in. Um,
Yeah.
being in it so long,
Hmm.
but it's been a struggle for a lot of years. Yeah.
Sure, I understand that. I think that's common amongst the muscle ladies too. So, I was curious, I, in terms of what advice could you give to aspiring bodybuilders who are seeking a good coach?
Um, I would, see if you guys can find some sort of common ground in what you believe in.
Yeah.
I would do your research when it comes to you always want to find someone who has been there. So, if you're wanting to go to nationals or become a pro, you want to know that that person has achieved that or reached that status or gotten people to that status themselves
Hmm.
because that means that they know what they're doing or how to get you there. So I
Yeah.
think that's probably one of the biggest things. And like I said, just finding like some common ground and seeing if you guys, can build a rapport. I think that it's in with any relationship, communication is huge. And I think that for me, um, knowing that, someone's going to be there, someone that who believes in you, sees your potential, but also is not going to like blow smoke up your butt and say that you're going to reach something that you have, because a lot of this game is genetics.
Hmm.
People
That's
don't
true.
have the genetics to do this. They might be able to do a few shows, but they're not necessarily going to make it pro or get on the Olympia stage, or so parts of it are being realistic, and sometimes that is hard to hear.
Hmm.
And I think for me, I've just had a lot of mentors along the way that not only believed in me, but um, they saw stuff in me when I couldn't see it myself.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of times, like I didn't believe earlier years when I was competing, I didn't believe that I was worthy or had what it takes to become a pro. So
Hmm.
I put my head down and I just worked, and it came to a point where I worked so much that I actually reached that, and I didn't really know that until one of my mentors sat me down and said, what are you doing playing with your potential?
Hmm.
You need to do shows that are going to go before judges, see you, know who you are, and then just watch you progress year after year.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think like when finding a coach, those things are really, really important. Uh,
Yeah.
the communication, like I said, is huge for me. You want somebody who, even if you're having a bad day or you feel off, or they're gonna notice and say like, what's going on? Have you been sleeping? Or stuff like that, where they actually do care too.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's important.
I think that's true. Yeah, they have to care about your health and make sure that you're doing things right
A
and
lot of them don't. So I would, the advice I would give to someone is do your research. and vet these people just like you're vetting a doctor, or a lawyer, or somebody who's going to be in your life that's important.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good analogy. That's a good point. I was curious, have you ever done coaching yourself, coached other people?
I have, and I still do. It's hard for me. I don't take on a lot of clients because I feel like they deserve a lot of my attention, or all of my attention. And I have a lot of stuff that I do in my life.
Yeah,
I can't necessarily give a lot of people 110% of me. Um,
yeah, sure.
and that's the biggest thing that I struggle with. Maybe when I'm done competing, I will go into like coaching more.
Okay.
Uh, but I do a lot of things with my career. I'm going into real estate right now, so like I have
Wow.
a lot of things happening everywhere else. So I can't really give the time to anyone but myself.
Yeah, sure. I understand that. Yeah. You mentioned real estate. I was curious, do you have a full-time job now? And if so, where are
I,
you working
I
now?
do like I'm in transition. So I just left my corporate job,
Okay.
or am leaving, just in the middle of sort of leaving my corporate job, uh,
Yeah.
to do real estate and kind of switch gears. So right now, I still am working and stuff. I
Okay.
have
Yeah.
Once I get my license and stuff like that, then I'm going to switch over to real estate full time, and do
Great.
other things here and there, with some businesses that I'm getting off the ground. But um, I'm working full time right now. Yeah.
That's terrific. Yeah, I think there's no shortage of real estate work in Tampa. I think so.
No, Florida is a hot market, so everybody move here.
I think you're smart to do that. That's a good career move, I think, for you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a few questions about competing now, and I was wondering, when and where do you hope to compete next? And I know you've been chasing a pro card for a few years, and I hope that this is your year because I've always thought you had a great look.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We are talking about junior nationals, North Americans. We have a few picked out. We're
Great.
probably going to do just a regional show, for him and I to kind of see what works, so that we can, you know, use the science and stuff to peak properly, so that we don't have to experiment on a really big national show.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
because that's something that you don't really want to gamble with.
Mhm.
I am gunning for that pro card, and I know it's a matter of time. So this year we're definitely going to get it done.
Great.
And
Okay.
I think just doing like a little regional show, so that we can kind of get used to each other, see what works, is a really good idea that we've talked about.
Yeah.
We'll probably do just a regional show in June, kind of get that out of the way, and
Okay.
it'll probably be like junior nationals or something like that.
That's terrific. Are you going to do women's physique and women's bodybuilding, or one or
Yeah,
the other?
we're gonna go for both.
Okay, good.
I'm sort of on the cusp of both, so I can go either way, and I think it's probably smart, while you're there at nationals and you're already in shape, to just do both and see where you land.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. That's terrific. I know you've done both in the past too, haven't you?
Yeah, I think this year was probably my second year doing bodybuilding. I think, yeah. So
Okay.
it's been, I love the posing. I really do love women's bodybuilding. Um, when I become pro, though, do I think I'm going to stay there? Not really sure.
Okay.
I have to put on a lot more size.
Yeah, I
So
understand. Sure.
I know that. So we're kind of, we're in talks about, what the next steps are. But for now and nationals, it'll be both.
Okay, that's terrific. That's great. Yeah, looking forward to seeing you on stage again.
Thank you.
Um, for the regional show, you looking at like a Florida show, do you think?
Yeah, we're hoping to do something local. So
Yeah.
got to pick out something that is going to be a nice, local show to hear, and
Yeah.
make sure that the coach is going to be here at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, just have to decide on a regional show, but
Okay. That's terrific. Um, I was curious with the judges in terms of what feedback are you getting from them in terms of where you need to improve your physique?
I don't necessarily. I mean, I know myself where I need it the most, so I don't necessarily ask for a lot of feedback. The last couple of years, I've dieted way too hard, and
Hmm.
I think I've lost. Oh, 1 second.
No problem.
Oh, there we go. I've lost a lot of muscle dieting as hard as I have, and sticking with the same approaches that I had previous.
Okay.
So a lot of the feedback was like, you need more size. Well, yeah, because I dieted pretty much all of my size off of me. So I mean,
Yeah.
typically feedback for me because I know that I have the size to accomplish what's needed.
Mhm.
It's just that we need to find an approach where I'm not going to lose muscle at a huge rate.
Yeah, I understand.
So, a lot of different approaches are happening right now. I'm doing a lot of different things that I was never doing in the past for myself. So I think
Okay.
typically when you work with yourself, a lot of people can't because they can't hold themselves accountable. That's
Yeah.
where I had the problem. My problem was I was not feeding myself enough. I was
Mhm.
doing more work than I probably should have, breaking my body down more,
Mm.
stuff like that. So, like a lot of stuff where my muscle was just deteriorating.
I see.
Uh,
Okay.
So, I was hardest on myself. And I remember, like, I tried to get a coach after what show was that? After Chicago when they did the Miss International.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he was saying to me, well, what were you eating? And I said, just asparagus and tilapia. And he was like, that's it. He's like, no calories, no fats, no. And I'm like, yeah. So he was like, that's one of your problems.
Oh, I see.
I was
Okay.
not feeding myself enough. So hence, why I'm, working with Tim and, trying to have a different approach so we can keep the size on.
Yeah, I think that's going to be good for you to have Tim on board, and I think having a coach like that and getting kind of an objective opinion, but also somebody who knows the science of it too, I think is really helpful.
Because for me, I know where I need it the most. I need more detail in my legs.
Uh-huh.
So more separation in the quads. Definitely, I need bigger hamstrings, and we definitely are working on bringing in the glutes. So having some nice shredded glutes, and bigger, and then probably the latter part is we're working a little bit on abs and a little bit on calves. So my lower half is really where it all needs improvements.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't really necessarily need that feedback from the judges because I know myself. I,
Yeah, sure.
I can see pictures. I can, it's funny because when you're an athlete and you've done this for a long period of time,
Hmm.
you can look at yourself objectively and you're your worst critic. So you know where you need it the most.
Yeah, sure.
Really ever need anybody to tell me where I need it.
Yeah, I understand.
That here, like you just pick your body apart. So that's definitely what we're working on. I train with Tim like 1 to 2 times a week, and we're just straight training legs and glutes and hamstrings.
That's great.
So, we're definitely making improvements, and things are already coming along. And I've only started prep last week, so my body's already changed, drastically in a week. So
Wow, that's great.
I'm definitely looking forward to, what's to come.
I'm excited to see how you look. That's on stage. I think you're going to look terrific. Yeah, that's great.
Really ready to be different. So
That's very cool. In terms of your physique, what is your favorite muscle group and what's your least favorite too?
Um, that's hard to say. I guess I love my shoulders and my back. Um, that's probably like the strongest parts of my body.
Yeah.
Um, I love the way my quads are looking, but they definitely need work, as I said. So probably the worst the worst body part that I don't like is my abs and my calves, and
Okay.
we're constantly working on that. So
Sure.
hopefully
That's
we're
great. Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I've always thought your back was really a standout body part, and your shoulders too.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's
Uh,
funny because when I first started bodybuilding, I had no shoulders. I had to train shoulders twice a week to grow. So that was never my strongest body part when I started.
really?
Yeah.
Wow. No, you wouldn't be able to tell now. Yeah, you look great now. Yeah.
Well, when you see pictures and I'm a little baby on stage, you can definitely didn't have any shoulders back then. But
Really? Yeah. Um, my last few questions are just kind of more miscellaneous, and I was curious, like, what would you do to improve the sport of bodybuilding, and like, how would you make the sport better, in your opinion?
um, oh God, that's a loaded question. I have a lot. I have a lot. I would like to see it on mainstream TV again.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s and 90s, it used to be on like a pay-per-view or, you know,
Hmm.
it used to be televised. So, to see like the bigger shows like the Olympia and stuff like that become like a mainstream would be something that I would change, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Outside, public society, a lot of don't even know what bodybuilding is, or they're very naive to a lot of things when it comes to bodybuilding. So I don't really know how it gets seen, but that would definitely be something that I changed.
Great. Yeah.
As for women in bodybuilding, I think that it always comes down to the prize money. Olympia. I'm not going to say the Arnold because really I'm not a fan of that right now, since he took
Yeah.
out Physique. But
I'm not a fan either, actually, of that. I was really irritated with that.
it's been about 3 years since he's had women's physique, probably longer for women's bodybuilding. But
Yeah.
the prize money, I mean, the prize money is so much different, it's so much less than any of the men's categories.
Hmm.
So I would definitely change that. And then, just getting women's bodybuilding, seen a lot more. And, we're trying to accomplish that now with Amazon Fitness Magazine. Um,
Yeah.
Now, a lot of us are in it, and trying to bring light to women's muscle, and have it more in the forefront of the media and stuff like that. So hopefully, having that come out, I shot with them in December. So the January issue is coming out that I'm going to be in. So I'm going to be posting that on my page too. I'm
Nice.
going to be in the spread for the January issue. And then
Great.
also doing the end of April, I believe, we're shooting for the cover. So that's going to be a big thing for April because it's going to be out in May. And then May is their 1 year anniversary. So it's going to be their anniversary too.
Oh, terrific. Yeah. I think isn't
So,
that Glenn that's doing that, right?
yep, Glenn Young. So, a lot of stuff like that is happening where we can, celebrate women's muscle and have a magazine that actually um, is marketable to us, because a lot of the bigger magazines nowadays don't feel like, we're marketable, that we, don't deserve to be on covers or, in magazine. But we have a lot of fans that want to see So, that's a hot thing right now. And, we're hoping to build it to a point where, we could have, an expo or something where we
Yeah.
have us, there signing autographs and stuff, taking pictures, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So we have a lot of stuff in the works coming with that.
That's terrific. Yeah, that reminds me of Women's Physique World magazine back,
Right.
which has probably been 20 years since that has been published. But yeah, I really appreciate Glenn for starting that magazine and kind of get it going because
Yeah.
it's
Because it definitely has been a long time coming, and a lot. We deserve to be seen.
yes, I totally agree. I want to mention too about TV because I remember when ESPN and NBC and Fox Sports used to cover bodybuilding, and I think a lot of people got introduced to bodybuilding that way.
Yeah,
And by not having it, it's almost like a closed kind of society by not having that kind of exposure that used to be there.
right.
And which is a shame. And I don't understand why ESPN, which has 20 different networks, why they can't just drop cornhole. You know, they have pro cornhole tournaments, but they
Or
don't have bodybuilding. And I don't get that. I don't understand why they don't.
they have all these weird sports on there.
They have like video game competitions and darts, but bodybuilding is great because it's, kind of has sex appeal too. It's like, why don't they just at least acknowledge that,
Yeah, I don't know what needs to happen, but we need to get it back.
I know. So yeah, I'd like to see it come back to TV again. I even remember you mentioned pay-per-view, but for a while the Nationals was on pay-per-view, and that's been done away with too. And so yeah, I would love to see it come back again
Now I
in a
know that
wider format.
The Rock was trying to do something in that regard.
Uh-huh.
That happened, but I know that he was trying to make that happen.
I know, and I don't know why that fell apart. I was disappointed to see it that it did because it had a lot of potential.
Or something, I think, because I think that was along the time that COVID hit, I believe.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
don't know if it had to do with something like that, or maybe the higher ups were like, no, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I think you might be right about COVID because it might have been 2020 when that came up too. So
Yeah, because that was when because he was going to have his own show too.
yeah, in Atlanta, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's kind of disappointing. Yeah, I hope that maybe he will come back. He's got the star power that we need, and now that the Arnold is kind of
got the money to
fading,
fund everything. So
that's true. Yeah, he does. And the Arnold is dropping so many divisions now.
I keep. One
Oh,
sec.
no problem.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, no, no problem. But anyway, yeah, no, I agree with you about TV. So we'll see. um, I was curious, do you like to show off your muscles in public, or do you prefer to keep them covered when you're out in public?
Um, well, in Florida, you can't really; it's too hot.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
they get regardless. But yeah, um, it's interesting what people. You almost feel like a circus freak sometimes. I think, like
Uh-huh.
you outside in the public, or people just have to stop what they're doing and stare, or they have some comment, because it's normal to see a man with muscles, right? But when
Uh-huh.
you see a woman with muscles, it's like, oh my god, so they don't know how to act. They don't know what to say. They don't like nothing.
I see. I hope that you mostly get positive comments, though.
For the most part, it is. There's been some. So you're always gonna get some sort of haters,
Yeah, I
you
understand.
know, because they don't see it like oh, it's not feminine, or
Mm-hmm.
what society thinks you should be. Just
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things, right? So.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Um, that's one thing I was thinking if it was on TV again, maybe it would be more accepted because it would just be out there and, you know, just
I
at
think
least raise awareness.
you would get more like the public would see it, and they would. I think they would accepted a lot more.
That's what I think too. Yeah, that's why getting it back on TV would be kind of nice. But yeah. Um, I was curious. I think your mom still lives in Canada, right?
She does, yeah.
And that's your home country. But I was curious, what does your mom think about your bodybuilding career, and is she supportive of you?
Oh my gosh, she is like my biggest fan.
Great.
She keeps pictures on her phone of me, and she'll show everybody like she runs into, oh, this is my daughter, and super proud. And yeah, she's been to like pretty much every one of my shows.
Wow.
um, if she can't make it, she watches it on a live stream, and she'll call me right after I get on stage. And you know she's like my biggest supporter.
That's terrific. That's so nice. I've
Yeah.
talked with some ladies whose moms aren't so supportive, unfortunately. So, but I think that's great to have the support of her, and I bet that feels good to have her support.
Yeah.
Um, Now I know you've done several really good photo shoots, and I was curious who's your favorite photographer that you've worked with, and what's like your all-time favorite shoot that you've done?
That is a hard question.
Aha.
I have a lot of favorites. A lot of the ones that I did with EG photography.
Yeah, those are great.
And what else? I've shot with, Kent Lecky, who I love, who's the Wings
Yeah.
of Strength photographer. Sean Nelson, who I love, I always love his work.
Yeah,
There's
me too.
amazing, amazing fitness photographers out there. And I still have like a laundry list of, ones that I haven't yet shot with that I want to. So,
That's
um,
great.
I have a lot, and just a million concepts in my head about, what I want to, show, and things that I want to do that have never been done. I love things that are outside the box of what fitness is that you don't
Yeah.
see. Coming up with crazy concepts that, nobody ever sees, so that, that's one thing that they remember about you. Like, oh, you did this shoot and it was like this, and, I loved that, or, just different things. So I have a lot of them. I respect a lot of them. They are super talented, as well. Glenn Young from Amazon Fitness Magazine. He's amazing
Yeah.
too. Russ G Photography, I shot with him. He's amazing. We'll probably be doing a lot more work with him. Just so many. I have so many.
Yeah, I like you've had variety of different outfits and dresses and different backdrops and stuff too, which is nice. I like that
Yeah.
variety.
I did a guy who's local here, Daniel Gallant. He, wanted, he has like connections for sports cars and motorcycles and
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
That was one thing that I never did that I would have wanted to do. So last year we, or yeah, this past year, I'm going to say 2020, we hooked up and got some amazing content with, some motorcycles and a Lamborghini, and
Yeah.
those are some of my favorite ones too. So we're going to be shooting a lot more really cool stuff with him.
Great.
So yeah, I love just shooting things that, that's part of my creativity.
And I would like to mention to the fans to check out your Instagram because you do post a lot of those great shots from those photo shoots there. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
terrific.
shooting a lot more. I have we're doing a music video in February.
Oh yeah.
Um, Probably be doing a photo shoot with that. And then the next photo shoot will probably not be until April, when we do our cover photo for the magazine.
That's terrific. That's so cool. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, definitely encourage folks to check out your Instagram and to see those photos. And uh like we discussed, I know you live in Tampa, but I was curious, do you find this to be a supportive community for bodybuilding?
It definitely is, and that's one thing that I loved about this place is it's like it reminds me a lot of what California is like. You know, it's like the second mecca, a home for bodybuilding.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
they have amazing big gyms here, and they just become like people here just become your family, and they're super supportive of your shows. As soon as I moved here, I just found like, you know, such support system. And then you just, you know, I started meeting a lot of people that were in bodybuilding that lived here, and it's just an amazing community to be around.
that's terrific. Yeah, that's what I found living in Tampa too. I just think there's a lot of bodybuilders here, but a lot of coaches, a lot of great gyms that are really focused on bodybuilding. So
Yeah.
I think that really makes it helpful. Um, so and yeah, that it is a good bodybuilding community for sure. Um, I just have one last question for you. Is there anything that I should have asked you but neglected to ask that you'd
I
like to address?
think so far it's been great.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for joining me on the podcast. And we'll get this posted relatively soon. And as I mentioned earlier, I'll include some Instagram pages down in the comments below, so people can check you out and check out their coaches too.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.